Jim Gordon here in the offices of the Richmond Sentinel. Time for another edition of Richmond Stories. Jim Gordon here, of course, from Our City Tonight and Richmond Stories. Well, we're not in Richmond, but we're reaching out to one of our experts. We've got a whole bunch of them that you can see on the Richmond Sentinel website. It's Richard Goodine. He's the Vice President of Hospitality Development. He's also been on Our City Tonight many times, but he's joining us here on Richmond Stories to talk about the restaurant industry. Richard, it would be an understatement to say the last 4.5 years have been challenging. COVID and then labor and then costs and government adding more tax. For our viewers out there that are wondering, do I have the money to be able to go out, be it Richmond or Vancouver or Surrey or Burnaby, whatever, talk about the current states. And we're doing this in April of 2024. What do you see out there?
Well, I said one of the most common things that everybody talks about is, the government imposing all new taxes and carbon taxes and interest rates. So, people's money is a topic that's front and center.
Sure.
So, but at the same time, we're all human and we all want to go out. We all want to have a good time. So when people do make the decision to go out, they want to make sure that they're getting great value for money, but they also want a great experience so that when they go home at night and they've spent whatever they've spent, they don't think, oh, God, I wish I hadn't done that. Mm-hmm. So I think the restaurants that are going to be successful are the ones that stay absolutely committed to understanding that the customer is truly investing something to be here. And it's our job to make sure that we're doing everything in our power to go way beyond their expectations.
Have you seen over the last 4 or 5 years on the front line, you may not be able to answer this or see this, but customers' habits change. I speak for myself when I say, I'm more of a happy hour guy. Like I'm going out for a drink and a bite to eat at 4:30, 5 o'clock, getting older, so that just becomes natural. But are you seeing more of that, say, in the places you've worked at, including here, where you might see more people at happy hours opposed to 4 or 5 years ago?
Absolutely. Happy hour is huge, and throughout the entire Lower Mainland, everybody that does happy hour realizes that it's a necessary thing to have because it gives the customer a chance to come and at least explore your restaurant. The problem is when people do a happy hour and they do mediocre food, lighter fluid wines, or cheap beer that doesn't taste good, and they aren't recognizing that it's an opportunity to develop a relationship with the client. The customer comes in, they have a great experience, that fits into their budget, and they think, you know what, when we go out next for something special, I'm going back to that same spot.
Talk about, we'll go from, say, the restaurant industry, and it is connected directly to the wine industry in our province. I'm concerned just about the industry in the state of, due to climate change and taxing again, and who owns what. But you look at the Okanagan, which is really our jewel, not to take away from anything on Vancouver Island or some of the other regions, but what are your thoughts on that? Are we going to have an Okanagan 20 years from now, 25 years from now? Not to go all doom and gloom, but...
Yeah, I would be immodest if I had to say even remotely that I had the answer to that question. What I will say is there's an old expression in the wine industry, and that is the best way to make a small fortune in the wine industry is start with a big one. And the wine industry has evolved greatly. And wineries that we've seen develop and grow over the years from friends of ours, like Harry McWaters as an example, or individuals who came from other countries and brought with them a passion for making these great wines. It's evolved now into a lot of wineries that are owned by dog food companies and companies that had dating apps. And you think about probably the biggest name in the industry, Mission Hill. It's largely able to be funded on the backs of White Claw. And I just heard this morning where White Claw is doing a partnership with Messi on a non-alcoholic beverage. I mean, that means they can buy a lot of vines and they can buy a lot of land and plant vines that the individual who's taken their life savings and bought 2 acres of land to put their life passion forward, they can't do it. So I think the industry is in for big change, and I think that the biggest challenge that might exist is if it no longer is the wine business and it just becomes the business of wine.
That's a good way to put it. I think I've seen that over the last 20 years with, say, the movie industry, where there's less artistic and more bottom line and money. Could the government be doing a lot more to help the wine industry? I know that's a loaded question, but...
I think the government could do a lot more to help the wine industry, and the restaurant industry, and in fact, industry in general. If you think about it, as an example, the average large restaurant employs probably 150 people. And that's 150 people that are not on unemployment, that are not taking, CERB or whatever other funding they might need to be taking from the government. The government should recognize that and help the industry by maybe subsidizing in some way. In the wine industry specifically, agriculture is at the core of every country. And in our particular case, the Okanagan produces some of the best wines in the world. And when they go through the hardship of frost like they have the last 2 seasons and smoke like they have the last 5 seasons, they find themselves in a position where a lot of these businesses are going to fold. And that means a lot of people are now going to be standing in the unemployment line. And the government should be visionary enough to realize, you know what, it's better that we help out and keep people off the unemployment line instead of having people on unemployment, and then you have an unhappy culture as well. So there's a lot of things that are attached to it, but government can always do more.
One of the things I love about the Richmond Sentinel, of course, it's attached to our show, Our City Tonight, but print, you can pick it up, but on digital and on the website, and these videos, they can be seen anywhere. So let's give our viewers a little taste of what they can see here at a fairly new Skye Avenue Kitchen and Lounge.
Yeah, well, it goes back to what you're saying about, the consumer and the desire for more. What I was saying with you, that if we want to take a great restaurant, and you want to look at it as an example, Skye Avenue is located in a perfect location at the end of a SkyTrain in the central part of Surrey. It delivers amazing food. The hospitality is a driving force behind everything that's done here. And as a result, people can come and without any pretense, have an exceptional meal, great service, and ideally value for money.
I would say in the time that we've been here, I've had a spectacular burger, but I've also had some very high-end dishes as well.
Yeah, I think you've got to be able to give people option to purchase. And I often say, when I take the analysis of a restaurant and I compare it to other stores, you're never going to a store that has just one white shirt in it. You want to be able to get the option. So in the restaurant side of things, you want to be able to get something like a carpaccio and you want to get a Wagyu beef. That option to purchase is what's going to give you a broader segment of people to draw in.
Hey, you're going to see more of this guy as we continue to bring in more people to the Richmond Sentinel family. He'll be talking about restaurants and wine and all that kind of stuff that we want to know about. That's what we've been doing here. It's Richard Goodine. He is the VP, big title, VP of Hospitality Development, and he's one of the Richmond Stories. I'm Jim Gordon. Thank you for watching.